Magandang araw mga kabarangay. So Sir Pops again here, making another video for my students in grade 10 at para din sa lahat ng estudyante ng grade 10 dito sa Pilipinas. If you have the time, please watch this video so that may matutunan kayo sa science ninyo sa grade 10 para hindi kayo mahirapan. Okay? Before I start, shoutout ko lang yung mga nag-message dun sa aking video. So si Ma'am Lay Luna, shout out sa iyo, ma'am. So sabi niya, Sir Pops, thank you po. Ginamit ko po yung LAS niyo for week 4 namin. Nag-subscribe na din po ako. Maraming salamat po sa inyo, ma'am. So shout out ko lang din po yung mga co-teachers natin, mga kaguro natin sa Kabay National High School. Shout out po sa inyong lahat dyan. And another one is si Ma'am Nandito. Si Ma'am Aisa Belan Rocas. Shoutout po sa inyo, ma'am. Si ma'am po ay si Marshall B. Villanueva. Marshall B. Villanueva National High School po. San Francisco 2 Division of Quezon. So, nagkakaroon na po ako ng maraming kaibigan dito sa aking YouTube channel. Salamat po sa panonood. Keep watching, keep learning po tayo, mga ma'am. Posted na din po sa baba o nakalink na po sa baba yung LAS natin. Pwede nyo na po magamit. Wala pong problema sa akin kung gamitin nyo man po yan. Mas maganda po, nakakatulong po ako sa inyo. Maraming salamat po sa pag-subscribe at panonood ng ating mga videos. Now, let's proceed. Now, the next topic natin is quarter 3, week 4.2. No? So, the title of that topic is protein synthesis. So, ito, medyo tayo. Yung last topic natin kasi is all about mutation. So, ito na yung next topic natin. Now, building a house usually requires a blueprint. Refer on figure 1. So, may blueprint tayo dito ng bahay or a plan of the structure of the house to determine how it would look like after construction. Organisms have blueprints which contain information that will determine their physical and chemical characteristics. This blueprint is what we call the DNA. Are you already familiar with the different processes in the DNA? Discover more about DNA and accomplish the following task. Now, most essential learning competencies. Explain how protein is made using information from the DNA. So, the title is protein synthesis kasi synthesis means to make something. So, pag inayos mo to, ang title nito is not protein synthesis but to make protein. So, pares lang din. No? Protein synthesis or to make protein. Yan. Objectives natin, identify the role of DNA and RNA in protein synthesis, describe DNA replication, relate DNA replication to its complementary structure, and number 4, describe transcription and translation. Yan. In your grade 9, you have learned the components of structure of DNA. So, dapat, ang mga grade 10 natin ngayon, alam na yung AT2CG3. AT2 means adenine thymine, AT2 paired with adenine paired with thymine, cytosine paired with guanine. Dapat alam nila yan. It is expected of grade 10, no? Sa grade 10. Shows the DNA and RNA structure. Answer the following questions below to check if you're really equipped for this, for our lesson, for this lesson. Nag-double. Okay, what are the components of DNA and RNA? So, try to look at this one. Ano ba yung tinatanong? Ano ba ibig sabihin ng components? No? Medyo mahihirapan yata sila dito. Okay, bigyan ko na lang kayong clue. Pag sinabi natin components, ito siya. Ayan. Ano bang meron siya? Ano ba to? So, we have these nucleobases. We have helix of sugar, phosphate. Nucleobases and helix of sugar, phosphate, RNA. No? Ito yung RNA natin, ha? RNA, or also known as ribonucleic acid. Now, dalawa pala, no? What are the components of DNA and RNA? So, dito, sa DNA, meron siyang base pair. Parehas silang may helix of sugar phosphate. Parang backbone niya. Ayan. Next, what is the structural difference between DNA and RNA? Ano ba itsura nito? Ilan to? Ilan ang kanyang ah, ilan ang kanyang paikot? Ilan ang kanyang backbone? Dito, ilan ba? Ayan. Binibigyan ko na kayo ng clue. List the 4 nitrogenous base of mRNA. So, sa mRNA, ito siya, nucleobases. So, we have C, G, A, U. Wow. Pinadali ko na, no? List the 4 nitrogenous base of DNA. Dapat alam nito. How many strand does RNA have? Ilang strand ba to? Ayan. How many strand does DNA have? Ilang strand ba to? So, medyo madali itong guide question na to. No? Next, guide question B. How many nitrogen bases does a DNA has based on this picture? Ilang base? Ilang magkakaparis na base ba yan? Pag sinabi nating, walang nakalagay, no? Complementary base, ayan, kabilaan yan. No? Halimbawa, si T is paired with A, dito, si A is paired with T. So, ito yung complementary bases niya. Pwede sila magkabaliktad. Okay? Ayan, nitrogen spaces. Now, next, give the complementary base of the following. Ano yung kapartner ni G? Based on this one. So, madali na naman to para sa mga estudyante. No, tandaan nyo lang, bigyan ko ng clue. Bigyan ko ng hint. 80CG. 80CG. Tingnan mo to. 80CG. 80CG. Ayan, lagi sila magka-partner. Okay. So, ibig sabihin, alam nyo na ito ilalagay dito. Now, DNA, deoxyribonucleic acid, is the hereditary material of the most living creatures. It carries genetic information that determines all types of plant lives. DNA replication is a process by which a single DNA molecule is copied, resulting in two identical molecules prior to the cell division. The accuracy and precision in DNA replication has ensured the continuity of life from generation to generation. So, ibig sabihin, himay-himay natin. Replication is a process by which a single DNA molecule is copied. So, dito pa lang, replication muna tayo ha. Replication. So, tingnan nyo nangyari dito. Ayan. So, mag-unzip siya. Yung DNA natin is mag-unzip. And then, magiging dalawang copy siya. So, kung ano nangyayari dyan, mangyayari din dito. So, eto dito, yung A, ay naka-pair dyan dito dati. 82CG3. So, mag-unzip yung DNA natin when it comes to cell replication, ha? Cell replication. Mag-unzip siya. So, dadami yung cell natin. Each strand is made up of 5 carbon sugar, 2 deoxyribose, phosphoric acid, and 4 nitrogen-containing bases. 2 bases are purines, which have a double ring structure, and the other 2 are pyrimidines, which contain a single ring. The purine bases are adenine and guanine, while the pyrimidines bases are thymine and cytosine. So, pag sinabi nating purine siya, ayan, purine, adenine and guanine yun, AG, no? Purine siya. So, wala siyang letter Y. Pag sinabi nating pyrimidine bases, yun yung may mga Y na nitrogenous base like thymine and cytosine. So, ibig sabihin, ang thymine and cytosine ay pyrimidine at ang adenine and guanine are purines. So, ano ibig sabihin nun? What is the significance of knowing pyrimidines and purine? So, dito kasi makikita mo siya. Ay, wala pala dyan. Ito. Wala dyan. So, ibang topic na pala yan. Discuss ko na lang ulit pag may time tayo. Medyo mahabang proseso yon. Parang, the difference is that pagdating sa ring structure, no? Ring structure nagkakaiba. So, parang dito. Ayan, ito. Ayan, ito pala. So, emphasize ko lang ha, yung purines and pyrimidine. So, guanine and adenine are purines. So, dalawa yung kanyang ring structure, dalawa. Pag cytosine and thymine naman, isa lang yung kanyang structure. So, ibig sabihin, cytosine and thymine ay pyrimidine kasi isa lang yung kanyang ring. No? Guanine, adenine, dalawa din dito. So, yun yun. Naalala ko na. Thank you. Okay. Next natin. Let's have a self-talk. Come to think of this. What makes your biological characteristics different from your peers, relatives, siblings, and even to your parents? So, what is the difference? No? Ano ibig sabihin ng DNA? Minsan nagbibiroan kami sa classroom. Pag tinuturo ko to, maganda ka kasi maganda yung DNA mo. Pogi ka kasi maganda yung DNA mo, pogi din. Now, if what your DNA contains is actually you, no? Kung ano yung DNA mo, ikaw yan. Yan yung parang pinagamit natin as differentiation. No? Magpare-pares tayong tao, but we do have different DNA. The central dogma of the transfer of genetic information states that the sequence involved in the expression of heredity characteristic is that DNA forms RNA forms protein. Parang ganito yan. DNA to RNA to protein. So, galing sa DNA mo yung information, kukunin ni RNA, and then it will form a protein. During protein synthesis, it occurs in two sequential steps, namely transcription and translation. So, dito, hindi ka malilito kung sinong mauuna at sinong mauhuli. Laging una si transcription at laging pumapangalawa si translation. So, pag in order siya, transcription first before translation. Transcription is the process by which the information in a strand of DNA is copied, referred to figure 3, into a new molecule of messenger RNA or mRNA. Yan. Anong gagawin niya? So, si mRNA ay papasok kay nucleus. So, hanapin muna natin si nucleus dito. Tingnan natin dito, ha? Ito rin yung same na ginagamit ko na picture. Now, this is our cell, prokaryotic cell, eukaryotic cell. So, this is our nucleus, no? So, sa loob niyan, nandyan yung ating tinatawag na DNA. Papasok dyan si mRNA because we cannot get the DNA out of the nucleus, no? Hindi natin siya makukuha. By sending a messenger, RNA, papasok dyan si RNA sa loob, mRNA, para kopyahin yung information kay DNA. Ayan yung mangyayari. No, yung pagpasok ni mRNA dito sa nucleus, that is what we call transcription. Kasi kinokopya niya na. Transcription. Okay? Pag nakopya niya na yon, lalabas na siya sa nucleus. Okay, balik tayo dito. So, translation is a process that determines the order of bases in mRNA of amino acids into a protein. It occurs in the ribosomes in the cytoplasm. So, mRNA. So, meron tayong transfer RNA at meron tayong tRNA or ribosomal RNA. Na may explain natin yan sa isa. Ito yun. To make it short, ito yung nangyayari. So, mauna si transcription, kinopya ni mRNA ang information kay DNA. Ito na siya, RNA. And then, si RNA, may dala-dala siyang information galing kay DNA na pagbabasihan naman para makabuo ng tinatawag natin na amino acid. Once na meron tayong chain of amino acid, yun na yung magiging, ipafold niya yun, and then magiging protein siya. So, nandito yung translation. Ang translation ay nangyayari kapag kinocode na natin yung dalang message ni RNA galing kay DNA. Kinocode siya into specific amino acid. And then, pag nakabuo na tayo ng mga amino acid, chain of amino acid, yun na bali yung magiging protein natin. No? From transcription to translation to protein. Okay? Kaya sinabi dito, DNA forms, RNA forms protein. From DNA to RNA to protein. Okay, ano yung ribosomal? No, yan, rRNA. So, si messenger may dalang message, si transfer magta-transfer ng amino acid, at si ribosomal RNA naman, dun gagawin sa loob niya yung tinatawag nating protein o yung amino acid. No? Doon siya ginagawa. Okay, let's have this one. Okay. Ito, medyo mabusisi ito. Kailangan to ipaliwanag talaga. So, ito yung nucleus natin, site of transcription. So, kung makikita nyo, DNA, mRNA is made on a template. Pumasok si mRNA sa nucleus. And then, mag-a-unzip si DNA. And then, papasok si mRNA. Ayan. Kukunin niya yung information doon. AU, TACG, and then lalabas siya ngayon. Number 2, mRNA leaves nucleus and attaches to ribosome and translation begins. So, number 3. Incoming amino acid tRNA hydrogen bonds via its anticodon to complementary mRNA sequence codon on the ribosome. Wow. So, ito yung ating ribosome, yung kulay blue. Ribosome. So, si mRNA ay papasok dito. Ayan. So, may dala-dala siyang information galing kay DNA. And then, sa bawat 3-letter code na dala ni mRNA, may corresponding amino acid siya na dala-dala. Ayan. Tapos, si tRNA ang may dala ng amino acid na yan. Ayan. It's number 3. Ay, number 4. Asan number 4? Ayan. And then, after that, na mabuo yung amino acid, the ribosome moves along the mRNA and yung amino acid is added to the growing protein chain. Ito yung number 4 natin. So, kung mapansin nyo, ito, ang tawag natin dito ay amino acid. Pag napagsama-sama na natin yan, ang tawag natin dyan ay protein. So, ang bond na magdudugtong sa kanilang dalawa sa bawat amino acid ay tinatawag nating peptide bond. Okay? Then, number 5, released tRNA re-enters the cytoplasmic pool of free tRNA ready to be recharged with a new amino acid. So, once na natapos natin yan, translation na siya. Pagpasok dito ng mRNA sa ribosome, translation is already happening. Ayan yun. Ito yung amino acid natin. Ayan. So, medyo maganda to pag pinaliwanag sa mga bata. Now, your DNA or deoxyribonucleic acid contains the genes that determine who you are. How can this organic molecule control your characteristics? DNA contains instructions for all proteins your body makes. Proteins, in turn, determine the structure and function of all your cell. No? Para mas maintindihan natin, ang protein na ginagawa ng katawan natin is very unique. No? Halimbawa, ang kulay ng balat mo is kayumanggi. No? Hindi maglalabas ng kulay puti na protein para maging kulay puti yung balat mo, yung ating katawan, because that is your code, no? So, puputi ka lang pag gumamit ka ng sangkatutak na sabon na pampaputi or glutathione. Hindi pwede mangyari yun na pumuti ka, pero your body will not respond to dahil sa gusto mo lang, no? Yung kulay ng buhok mo, yung mata mo, yung itsura mo, all of them, ang accountable niyan ay yung DNA. What determines a protein structure? It begins with a sequence of amino acids that make up the protein instructions for making proteins with the correct sequence of amino acids are encoded in the DNA. DNA is found in chromosomes in eukaryotic cell. Chromosomes always remain in the nucleus, but proteins are made at ribosomes in the cytoplasm or on the rhabdomyoplasmic reticulum or RER. How do the instructions in the DNA get to the site of protein synthesis outside the nucleus? Another type of nucleic acid is responsible. This nucleic acid is RNA or ribonucleic acid. RNA is a small molecule that can squeeze through pores in the nuclear membrane. It carries the information from DNA in the nucleus to a ribosome in the cytoplasm and then helps assemble the protein. In short, DNA to RNA to protein. Discovering the sequence of events was a major milestone in molecular biology. It is called the central dogma of biology. So, nasa grade 10 book ito, no? Kung magbabasa kayo, kung mabibigyan kayo ng pagkakataon magbasa ng public school na libro sa Science 10, mababasa nyo to. The two processes involved the central dogma are transcription and translation. Ito na, inulit lang ulit. Transcription is the first part of the central dogma of molecular biology. That is DNA to RNA. Kasi itatranscript niya nga, no? It is the transfer of genetic instruction in the DNA to mRNA. Transcription happens in the nucleus of the cell. During transcription, a strand of mRNA is made that is complementary to the strand of DNA called gene. A gene can easily be identified from the DNA sequence. Translation is the second part of the central dogma of molecular biology, RNA to protein. It is the process in which the genetic code in mRNA is read to make a protein. After mRNA leaves the nucleus, it moves to a ribosome which consists of rRNA and protein. Translation happens on the ribosome floating in the cytosol or on the ribosomes attached to the rough endoplasmic reticulum. The ribosome reads the sequence of codons in mRNA and molecules of tRNA bring amino acid to the ribosome in the correct sequence. Just as with mRNA synthesis, protein synthesis can be divided into three phases: initiation, elongation, and termination. To understand the role of tRNA, you need to know more about its structure. Each tRNA molecule has an anticodon for amino acid. It carries an anticodon is complementary to the codon for amino acid. For example, the amino acid lysine has the codon AAG. So the anticodon is UUC. Therefore, lysine would be carried by tRNA molecule with the anticodon UUC. Wherever the codon AAG appears in mRNA, a UUC anticodon of tRNA temporarily binds. While bound to mRNA, tRNA gives up its amino acid. With the help of rRNA, bonds form between the amino acids as they are brought one by one to the ribosome, creating a polypeptide chain. The chain of amino acids keeps growing until a stop codon is reached. Now, find my role. So, sagutin nyo to. What is the role of mRNA in protein synthesis? Medyo mahaba, no? What is the role of tRNA in protein synthesis? At what part of the cell protein synthesis happens? What is the meaning of transcription? Define translation. So, pag binasa ng mga bata to, maintindihan nila yun. Now, let's go to the translation. Focus muna tayo konti sa translation. Look at the figure and decode the mRNA and find its equivalent amino acid. So, dito, meron kayong CAU, no? CAU. Hanapin natin yung CAU dito. Example nito is, ang answer dito is his or histidine, no? C, first letter, first position, hanapin mo dito yung C. Ayan, C. And then, second position, pababa ka naman. CA ang second mo, A. And then, U, pabaliktad. U. C, AU. Ito. C-A-U. Ito siya. So, his siya. His. So, actually, kahit hindi ka na mag-first position, second position, and third position, okay lang. Na walang problema. Kasi nakalagay naman dyan. Now, let's try CGG. Ito yung pangalawang example lang. CGG. CGG. First letter natin, C. Second letter is G. Third letter is G. CGG. Ito. ARG, apat siya. No, ang arginine natin pwede maging apat, pwedeng CGU, CGC, CGA, or CGG. So, ang CGG natin is ARG or arginine. So, kayo nang bahala dun sa next batch. 3 to 10. Now, let's go to the activity 2B, code on code. Look at the figure and decode the amino acid and find its equivalent 3-letter code. THR, example niya, ACE. ACA. So, hanapin natin yung THR. Ito. THR natin, actually, isa lang yung nilagay kong sagot, pero pwedeng apat, no? THR, meron tayong ACA, meron tayong ACC, meron tayong ACU, and meron tayong ACG. So, apat siya para dito. Apat ang kanyang 3-letter code. Meron pa bang teacher dyan? Wala na. Now, stop. Tayo sa stop number 2. So, ang stop natin, tatlo. So, pwede itong UGA, pwede nyo gamitin yung UGA, pwede nyo gamitin yung UAA, pwede nyo gamitin yung UAG. Ayan, stop. Okay? Ano yung SER? List, as, ASP, and lieu. Kayo na yung bahala dyan. No? So, pag may nakita kayong dalawa, pwede lang isa. Okay lang naman. Wala namang problema. Okay, Science 10 Answer Sheet Week 4.2. Dito po kayo magsasagot, mga bata, sa answer sheet sa science. No? May sarili pong answer sheet ang ating mga LAS. Yan. Yun po, no? So, sana may natutunan kayo. Please don't forget to subscribe to my channel. Panoorin niyo po itong Biology, Cell Structure, Nucleus, Medical Media kasi ito yung parang precise na structure ng cell natin, no? So, subscribe na rin po kayo dito sa channel natin, Sir Pops TV, para inform kayo sa lahat ng video na lalabas sa channel na to. Please watch and learn. Keep watching, keep learning. Maraming salamat po. Shoutout po sa lahat ng teacher natin sa Rondina at Tindido National High School. Hi po sa inyong lahat. Mabuhay po tayong lahat. Thank you!